Every night when you fall asleep, it can be argued that quite a lot happens to your mind and body. Your body uses these hours of rest to repair itself from the previous days. Your brain cleanses itself of junk, transferring new memories experienced during your conscious hours over from a temporary storage to a permanent one, and you regain energy for the day. I'm not a scientist and I won't pretend to be one. I'm not full of facts. What I do know is a lot of what we think we know today is proven wrong over time. For example, 500 years ago, most of the Earth's population used to believe that the world was flat, and if you traveled far enough, you will reach the end and fall into oblivion. Obviously, today we know that's not the case. The Earth is a sphere with no edges. Even science is questionable, especially given that we barely understand anything about sleeping and dreams. So I'm going to use this lack of knowledge in this area to open your minds to a strange perspective. So let's get back to the subject of sleep. We know that every several hours or so we begin to feel tired and groggy. We know that we're getting tired and that we're going to need sleep soon to restore our energy. We lay down in bed and eventually lose consciousness of reality. Sometimes we remember our dreams, but there are times that we just don't remember anything. The whole experience feels like it lasted a period that's not even describable because you lose your perception of time while you sleep. You just lose consciousness and wake up at some random time within a few hours of you initially drifting off. You're still partially aware of your surroundings, which is why an alarm or someone standing near you or entering the room you're in might wake you up. But even though you're partially aware, your concept of time is still absent. It's like you somehow teleported into the future when you wake up. When I was a kid, I had a strange thought. How did I really know that when I was looking at my mother, that's the same person I had previously known before I slept? If my sense of time had disappeared and went into hyperspace somewhere, and my mom had stayed awake during those hours witnessing the normal time passing, when I came back, how did I know I wasn't looking at a new person that talks, acts, and looks the same, just in a completely different realm of time and possibility? I'll give you this example. You're initially in this bubble right here. It floats around in hyperspace, where all possibilities exist and where you possibly go when you witness dreams. Time exists in hyperspace in a unique way. It is the accumulation of every possible possibility. As these bubbles move around, they absorb new possibilities. I predict anything that is mathematically possible can exist within this plane. In this thought experiment, humans and all living organisms that exist in a three-dimensional space can only experience consciousness so long as time can be experienced. Your body and brain exist in 3 dimensions. So it makes sense that the brain is only accustomed to picking up information that exists in 3, 2, and 1 dimensional spaces. We don't know what consciousness is. We can attempt to describe it. It's your perception of reality, being aware of your own existence. But maybe there's a possibility that a description of what consciousness is in English or in a language that is expressed in a 3-dimensional space cannot do consciousness true justice, and only describes a tiny glimpse of what it is. The description of it in any human language can barely scratch the surface of consciousness's true nature. Could it be that when you dream, your consciousness can travel into hyperspace and wind up in a different bubble of 3-dimensional possibilities? Because consciousness is not confined into 3-dimensional spaces. The brain is the arbiter of consciousness. It holds it in a 3-dimensional space. So your perception of reality is in 3 dimensions. Could it also be that life and death are 2 sides of the same coin? If you experience death, it is only the destruction and scrambling of your body and brain, and those 3-dimensional bubbles but just might not exist anymore. Consciousness just goes and seeks a new host to continue the existence of reality. But your consciousness cannot be destroyed if it exists in a separate set of dimensions. Perhaps consciousness is the universe itself seeking brains as hosts. If one brain is scrambled, then perhaps consciousness will seek another, an entirely separate set of bubbles of possibilities. And if you think that this is impossible, how can you prove to yourself that you didn't just pop into existence 5 seconds ago, or the last time you woke up? You just happen to wake up to a brain with a full set of memories that just makes you believe you've existed in that body for an entire lifetime. You might believe this, but it's not something you can prove, isn't it? I mean, the brain is what holds the memories, not consciousness. Consciousness is just something that can't be described besides you being aware that you're alive. I mean, I might believe that there's a giant spaghetti monster in the sky, but I can't prove it. It might just be the case that the brains we hold just lose our memories every time we die, and consciousness just seeks a new brain with a new set of memories. So you can never really prove what happens if you die, if death is even possible.